About 11 years ago, my girlfriend and I made some videos. We made a series of videos, and I did a horrible job explaining why we made those videos and setting the tone as to how that came to happen. Anyway, life was life. Everything was going along as usual, nothing special. And then we started having a series of supernatural events in my house. And everything happening was so unbelievable that I wanted to document everything. Let me go back and start at the beginning. Okay, it's kind of a long story, but it's better if I tell the whole story so you can understand a lot better. I had a calling on my life. When I was 13 years old, a visiting prophet called me to the front of the church, and he told me I would one day be a great man of God. And I was thinking about that about 11 years ago. And I was thinking about some other things, what I wanted to do with my life. And I wasn't sure if I really, truly believed in God. And this particular night, I'm laying in the bed next to my girlfriend, smoking a blunt, and I thought about that calling that was placed on my life. And I laughed. I said, he didn't know what in the world, that's not the word I was going to use, but it's a better substitute. He didn't know what in the world he was talking about. I laughed. I went to sleep. The next day, everything changed. It started off small. My household consisted of myself, my girlfriend, Quinada LaShae Lee. I call her Shay. The kids call her Mama Shay. Everybody else call her Not, short for Quinada. But anyway, and I had my 13-year-old daughter and Jayla, and my 2-year-old son, Jaden, living with me. And we also had Amari, which was Shay's, okay, Jaden was 3 because Amari was 2. So yeah, it was Shay's 2-year-old son. And okay. So I just wanted to make sure I get everything right. Okay, so for some reason, Shay and my daughter were thinking that we had a ghost in the house. They were hearing noises, but it was an old house, so I dismissed that. And I didn't think we had no ghosts. And then one day, well, that day, the next day after I just got finished laughing at this prophecy, we were in my room. We were in the room. We were in our bedroom, and we were just talking. And we had the kids in there with us. And all of a sudden, we heard a big crash. It sounded like the dishes had fallen. But we keep our dishes, we don't keep them on the edge of the counter. So there was no reason for them to have fallen. They were firmly all the way on the counter. But anyway, so I go into the kitchen to check to see what's going on. And I see the dishes on the floor, but I didn't see any evidence of anything else. So I dismissed that too. So we went to sleep that night, and the next morning, I'm leaving something out. My son, my 3-year-old son, also thought that something was going on in the house because he went to use the bathroom. I was potty training him. And he went to use the bathroom and he came running back in my bedroom. And he said, "I'm scared. It's a monster in the bathroom." And so I went in there immediately to check. I turned the light on. I look around. I didn't see no monster. I stayed in there while he used the bathroom. Didn't think nothing of it. We go to sleep that night. The next morning when Shay wakes up, she tells me some old woman came to visit her in her sleep. And she said to tell our son that she is not a monster. I said, "What you mean somebody came to visit you?" And she told me it was a spirit. It was somebody that used to be alive, came to visit her. And I don't remember too many more details about that. I thought that was kind of weird, but I didn't think much of it. So we went to sleep that night, wake up the next morning, and another spirit had came to visit her. It was a woman who used to live in that house with her family. And she wanted to warn us that the ghost that was haunting us was her husband, and he was angry with us, me especially. And she told us the story. And she didn't tell us, she told Shay, and Shay told me when she woke up. So she said Assyria, I believe that was her name. I can't remember, this was 11 years ago and I have issues with my memory. But anyway, she said Assyria told her that George was upset with me because I'm always writing in my notebook. And I write songs, lyrics, raps, music. So I do a lot. I'm extremely creative. So I do a lot of writing. And he was upset with me because of that. And so come to find out, well, let me tell you their story. So it was George's house. His grandparents built the house and left it to his parents, and they left it to him. So this house was 534.5 South Butler, Lansing, Michigan, 48911. Okay, I no longer live there, but this was the house we were recording the videos in. This was George's house. So George was upset with me. He didn't like me at all. And once I found out that we had ghosts in the house, I went and got some sage, a feather, and some other things that I was told would help you cast spirits out of your home. And so I got all of these things, and well, let me finish the story. Let me go back and finish the story. Okay, so anyway, George was a drunk. He was a stay-at-home dad. They had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. The daughter's name was Mina. I can't remember the boy's name. He was just a year or 2 older than his little sister. And George was a drunk. So he would get extremely intoxicated. And one day while Assyria was at work and George was babysitting, he got drunk. He got toe down drunk. He got so drunk that he found her diary. This is why he hated me. This is why he did not like me. Because what he found in his diary broke him. he found that his daughter was not his daughter. His wife had been cheating on him, and that was not his child. He was so drunk and in such a rage that he killed the little girl. While he was choking her, her brother walked in and tried to save his sister. He killed him too. So then Assyria gets off work. She comes home. She walks in the house and sees both of her children dead. And she starts going hysterical. George is drunk. He's drunk. He confronts her about being the infidelity, and he kills her. He pulls out a gun, shoots her in the head. And when she appeared to Shay, she still had the wounds, the injuries from the way she died. And George killed himself after that. So that was how the whole family died. So Assyria visited a couple of nights in a row. The first night she came by herself. The second night her daughter was with her. And they just wanted us to beware of George. And I was going to cast him out. But George was so amusing and so funny. So the night before I was going to cast him out, we go to sleep, Shay goes to sleep, and George comes to visit. So he has a full-blown conversation with Shay, tells her everything. The first thing he says is, oh, so he's going to kick me out of my own house. And I laughed when she told me that. And that's what made me hold back and not kick him out of his house. Because I didn't view him as a threat. So I was really just intrigued with all of this supernatural stuff going on in my household. And my girlfriend all of a sudden is a ghost whisperer. I mean, I was intrigued. I'm like, pass the popcorn. I want to know everything. I'm just trying to find out everything. Everything I can learn, I'm trying to find out. And at first I started writing everything down. But people talk quicker than you can write. And then if they go back and correct themselves once or twice, it'll be very frustrating. And I got frustrated. I got frustrated with my baby. And I had to think of a way to not get frustrated with her. And I thought it would be, maybe I should just record you. I would just record you and get it fresh. Right when you wake up, I did not give her a chance to run a comb through her hair. And I apologize for that. I apologize to her for that. Yeah, I didn't give her a chance. I didn't want her to have a chance to forget anything or to get anything confused or mixed up. So as soon as she would open her eyes, if she had went to what she called her spirit world, I wanted to know everything, and I would just document everything. So I was just trying to document what was going on. And so after a couple of nights, after I decided not to kick George out, the next night, George comes back. And Shay tells me this after she wakes up. And she said, George scared. And I say, huh? Scared? What would a ghost be afraid of? What could a ghost be afraid of? She said, George said the angels are coming to get him. He has to be judged. And when she said that, my eyes went wide. It was kind of like the moment on Coming to America when Arsenio Hall, when they at the dating scene at the restaurant, and the lady says, I want to tear you apart and your friend too. And Arsenio says, and spit out his drink. That's how I felt when she said the angels were coming to judge him. I was like, I did the math so quick. If the angels are coming to judge him, that means God is real, heaven is real, hell is real, and I'm in trouble. Because even though I had a calling on my life, I have always had one foot in the church and one foot in the street. But the problem is, the majority of the people in the street were not as deep in the street as I was. But my saving grace was that the majority of the people in the church was not as deep into the church as I was. And you really can't walk both paths. You can't. Satan tried to kill me. But we'll get back to that. Matter of fact, that was discussed in one of her videos. I made an offhanded remark about how many times God has spared my life. And then she said, yeah, that's what your grandfather said. And we'll get back to that. But anyway, I don't want to lose track of where I'm at. So when George came and said the angels were coming to get him, he had to be judged. See, in the spirit world, word travels quickly. So once that first woman realized that Shay could understand her and talk to her and communicate, she spread the word and other spirits were coming. And that's why Amina came and that's why George came. They were already there. So they were closest. They didn't have far to go. So anyway, I digress on that. So anyway, the next night, when Shay wakes up, Shay goes to sleep, wakes up, and she tells me an angel visited her. This turned out to be her personal angel, Alexar. And Alexar gave her her commission. This is when Shay told me, after speaking with Alexar, that she also had a calling on her life. And it was placed on her life also at a young age. She said her grandmother was a prophet. And her grandmother told her she would see strange things, but she had no idea the type of things she was going to see. She had no idea she would go to heaven. She would go to hell. She had no idea she would witness people dying. Sometimes a murder, sometimes an accidental death. And the problem was when she witnessed these things, she was literally there. She felt all of the trauma they felt. But we'll get back to that. So anyway, Alexar appeared, the angel appeared, and gave us a lot of news. First of all, that she had a job to do. She was a prophet and she had messages to deliver to a lot of people. Sometimes messages from people that were deceased, and sometimes there were messages just from God, from Yahweh. At the time, I was not an ordained minister. I'm currently an ordained minister. So at the time I was making these videos, I did not even know how to properly spell the name Yahweh. But I was advised that that was his name. That was one of the things that the angel Alexar verified. I had a lot of questions and she answered a lot of them. I'll make a video on that. But one of the first things I wanted to know was, what was heaven called? And she told me it was called the Kingdom of Yahweh. I found that to be so amazing. I didn't know heaven had a name, but it's a place, and all places have names, just like all people have names, all gods have names. Anyway, it's a common thing, so I should not have been amazed by that. What I was amazed by was when I was commissioned, I had no idea that during the process of me recording one of these videos, while I'm recording her, she gives me a message that God has a plan for my life and it's up to me to accept it or not. And my granddad gave her the message to deliver to me. Oh, I need to backtrack. I need to backtrack. Alexa had to prove herself. I wasn't going to just accept my girlfriend's word that an angel was telling her things. I needed confirmation. And she wanted confirmation as well. So Alexa did something that really hurt my feelings. She told Shay to ask me a question. I didn't understand it was just a question. And she told Shay to answer what I would say before she even asked me the question. So Shay asked me, if you could meet anybody, whether they living right now or had lived in the past at any point in time, if you could meet anybody, who would you want to meet? Now, I was thinking, with all this miraculous stuff going on, that I'm actually going to be able to meet this person. So the first thing, I thought about it, because I'm going to get to meet this person. So I thought about it long and hard. It took me about 5 minutes. It took me about 5 minutes to come up with my answer. And she just sat there patiently waiting with this stupid little smirk on her face. And she acted like she already knew what I was going to say. So I thought about it. The first thing that came to my mind was Bruce Lee, because I've been a big fan of him ever since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I used to imitate him. And then when I got older, I found out that there was a class that actually teaches his martial arts. And one of his students had a student. And his student is the person who teaches the class, who is my sensei, my guru, my sifu. So anyway, there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask. Be like water. I've always had my own interpretation of that, and it seems to be different than everybody else's. But anyway, I digressed on that because I thought about it. And because I actually know a little bit about Kai Shin, whose American name is Bruce Lee, I'm not confident of his level of English. I don't know how well he speaks English. So I didn't want to end up meeting somebody I couldn't even understand. So I thought about it. I thought about meeting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I said, nah, I'd rather meet Malcolm X. Then I said, nah, I know who I want to meet. I gave her my answer. And she said, I knew you was going to say that. That's what the angel said you was going to say. And I'm like, well, when I get to meet him. I wanted to meet my Messiah. And I thought I was going to be able to meet him just because that was who I wanted to meet. But it was just a question. And that was one of the ways Alexa proved that she was from Yahweh. Another way she did it was she showed Shay one of the times Yahweh spared my life. Now, I don't talk about this, so she didn't even know about it. It's good that I'm making this video. Alexa said that I would share my life. And I didn't want to accept that. That's part of the reason it's taken me so long to make this video. And I didn't want to accept that. My life was so full of sin. People could make a serious case as to who my father really is. By grace and his mercy, I have learned the error of my ways. I have repented. I can't do it. Hell is not for me. It's just not for me. It's not for me. It just wasn't meant for me. It's too hot. It's too hot. Too uncomfortable. Too much torment. It's not for your boy. It's not for me. So anyway, Satan tried to kill me in my sin one of these times. And it's crazy because I was doing one of the dumbest things ever. And I never told anybody why I did this. But I always wondered growing up if I was psychic, because I appeared to have a sixth sense. Sometimes I would just know things. And I was curious, and I decided I'm going to test this theory. And my first mind told me, no, you are going to get caught. But I said, well, let's find out. Duh. And I went on and robbed this 7-Eleven with a toy gun that didn't even shoot water. I mean, the only way I could have hurt somebody with that is if I threw it at them. But anyway, it wasn't about the money. I just wanted to do something stupid. I admit it. I wanted to be adventurous. I was 18 and a student at Michigan State University, so I should have been studying for classes. But I had a friend, and he used to do all this adventurous stuff, and I used to want to be just like him. And he had told me one time that he ran from the police and he got away. You know, he was driving the car, and I feel like I drive better than he do. If he can do it, I can do it. Stupid is as stupid does. Truly. But anyway, I digress on that. So let me tell y'all this story. So I run up in the store, make him give me the money, run back out. I outsmarted myself. I didn't want nobody to see my vehicle, so I parked 2 blocks away. But by the time I got to the car, the police was coming. So I hop in, take off. I had no idea where I was going to go. This was October the 5th, 1993. Lansing State Journal did a write-up. Yeah, I was famous. So anyway, October the 5th, 1993, 2 o'clock in the morning,